So we're going to talk through 4 recommendations that come from the CCSSO English Learners with Disabilities Guide that just came out last fall. We found it very useful. It might be something that you could check out as well for your planning and sort of processing of some of the information that we've been discussing throughout this series. They have 4 key recommendations specifically regarding development of IEPs for English learners. Feel free to jot notes on page 2 of your handout if you have it there. Regarding practical steps you might take to implement the recommendations, you can take some notes as we go through, and then those can also play a role in your team planning following the session. So the first recommendation is that IEP teams should include a staff member who can address the impact of language and culture on students' goals and services. So this could be an ESL specialist or someone else who has certification in bilingual education or English language development. So as we've discussed in previous sessions, and as Hartford just mentioned as well, it's important to understand how a student's performance is being impacted by their language abilities in both English and their home language. And an ESL specialist or other staff member with training and expertise regarding English learner education can offer a critical perspective on how language should be addressed within the IEP. So this recommendation critically entails greater involvement of ESL staff and collaboration among educators with different specialties. So we wanted to spend just a couple of minutes to consider factors that can contribute to effective team-based decision making. We know this can be really difficult. Logistics get in the way, timing, and everyone's roles and whether you're at different schools and things like that. In thinking about how to create effective collaboration, we wanted to specifically look at these recommendations based on a report developed by the San Diego Unified School District. The report is based on the district's implementation of a special education project regarding establishment and study of the work of transdisciplinary teams, or they abbreviate it to TDTs, throughout their program, throughout the report. Their approach builds upon the theory that single discipline assessments provide a snapshot from a very limited perspective, but that interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary teams, wherein members convene to discuss assessment findings and form joint recommendations, can result in more child-centered assessment and can enhance the assessment and subsequent intervention. So definitely with English learners, we would love to see that with a specific focus on English learners and their language abilities. So one theme, I'll just highlight a few themes that I noticed across these recommendations, the characteristics of effective school-based teams. One theme is just mutual respect and open communication. So they cite positive open communication as an important characteristic of an effective school-based team, having respect for one another, willingness to be flexible and open-minded, which of course requires respecting the ideas that you hear from others, and general agreement on the mission or role of the team. So in other words, you have to be all on the same page, working toward a goal with a collaborative mindset. Another theme is the competence and organization of the work, that there's shared responsibility and accountability among team members, and no one's taking the bulk of the load. Team members have expertise, competence, good work ethic, everyone's committed and brings their own relevant areas of expertise. They also mentioned site-level administrative support, which I'm sure we can all recognize is critical to ensuring effectiveness of the work that we do. And then with scheduling, they recommend being on site together 1 day a week and meeting regularly, but that could be only 30 minutes a week. So we know even finding 30 minutes can be really, really tricky sometimes, but it's, according to them, you don't have to meet every day, you don't have to see each other constantly. Sometimes just a short time together weekly can be really useful. Yeah, so this report, I wanted to mention, I'm going to post a link for you. This report includes a lot of really useful resources in addition to these notes about collaboration. So they include a graphic conveying how transdisciplinary teams engage in data collection and problem solving. So a lot of the kinds of things that we've been talking about, they have a graphic displaying how that can work with diverse teams. They have a list of questions that can guide planning and interpretation meetings, so something that you could go through as a team. They have a number of templates for documenting team meetings and decision-making processes, and they have a meeting guide for team-based IEP development. So a lot of really rich resources about working as a team in developing IEPs and going through this process of looking at data collaboratively and analyzing it together, making decisions together. They also have guidance regarding conducting ethnographic interviews with parents. So on a slightly different topic, we'll be talking about parents in a minute, but I wanted to mention this here since we're talking about this report. We've talked a lot about getting information from parents, and this resource is one way that you might be able to sort of systematically engage parents around what's going on with their kid. Get information from people who know the student best in sort of a systematic way with some guidance from other educators who have been doing this. They also have a number of resources for performance-based assessment. So the report doesn't focus on English learners specifically, but it includes some resources and items that address English learners' skills in English and their home language. And we believe because for English learners, having that collaborative piece and the involvement of ESL experts, the recommendations and resources regarding interdisciplinary decision-making have a lot of rich implications for how we work with dually identified English learners, develop IEPs for English learners.